for man tramples on me. All day long, an attacker oppresses me. My enemies trample on me all day long, for many attack me proudly. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you. In God, whose word I praise. In God I trust. Now those words ought to sound familiar. I shall not be afraid. What can flesh do to me? Now the context of this psalm here, David had been captured while he was in Philistine country, when he was in Gath. And he was, I guess you'd say, taken prisoner, so to speak. And this is around the time, if you're familiar with your Bible, which I hope you are, it's around the time when David acted like he was insane, drooled on himself. And the king of the Philistines said, well, this is a crazy man. He's no threat to us whatsoever. Let him be. And David is able to come out of literally the enemy's territory unscathed. During that time, obviously, David felt a lot of fear, as you would too. You have been captured. You are now in the hands of the very people whose champion you had killed as a younger man. They know who he is. And not only do they know who he is, but since the days of his having slain Goliath, David has been hunted by the Philistines. He has been at war with them. They've been at odds, let's just say, with David. And now he's in their possession, in their territory. And he's got to work in Philistine country. He's got to do business in Philistine country. He's got to conduct his affairs in a foreign land, not only a foreign land, but in Philistine country. The people that he is diametrically opposed to. And while in that time, he said, Lord, listen, be gracious to me, for man tramples on me. They treated him rough. They treated him bad. They oppressed him. They persecuted him. And he says, they trample me all day long. And then he says, many attack me proudly. We could loosely translate that as this morning. There's not a minute that I don't feel the weight of their hatred for me. There's not a minute that goes by that I don't feel their disdain. And I don't think there's anyone here that isn't after it. I feel like the whole world is against me. Now, let's pause there for a moment and let's ask this question. Do you understand that today you live in a world that is diametrically opposed to the will of the Lord, and thereby opposed to you as one who follows the will of the Lord? Would it not be safe to say that there are many times throughout the day that you feel this weight of animosity or opposition to you because you can't turn on the television without being bombarded with images and storylines and news reports and advertisements that fly in the face of everything you believe? You are a believer in Jesus Christ. You are not materialistic. You are not bound by possessions, but yet all of the advertisement caters to your carnal, fleshly, sinful side to want more. You watch a television show and the lifestyles that are being promoted fly in the face of what you know to be right. And you have to make a decision. Am I going to continue to watch or am I going to turn it off? And what am I going to be able to do to find entertainment? You go to work. You go to do business in the community. And you feel it. You know it's there. So where does that go? Or where do we go after that? We identify. We know. I get it. I feel it. But what do I do now? Well, David says in the middle of intense persecution, when I am afraid, this is what I do. I put my trust in you. David wasn't going to try to figure it out. David wasn't going to try to solve it himself. Figure it out himself. He wasn't going to try to come up with some narrative to follow or some guidelines to go by. He said, I'm going to completely put my trust in you and just say, you work this out for me. He says in verse 4, in God whose praise, or whose word I praise, in God I trust. Now I want to talk about this for a minute. All of us here this morning understand that phrase, in God I trust. We know it as, in God we trust. Now I want to ask you a question. If you are honest with me, is it accurate for us to say as a nation, in God we trust? I'm going to say yes and no. I'm going to say yes. Because our nation is most certainly trusting in a God. In a God. I'm going to say no. Because the God they're trusting in is not the God, Jehovah, who sent His Son Jesus Christ to die for us, who filled us with His Spirit that we might be able to know Him intimately and understand His Word and hear His voice and obey His will. That is not the God that we trust in. Now, you and I, as believers, we trust in God. Yes, we do. We most certainly do. We cannot claim that our nation does, because it does not. Look at the filth that we peddle as a nation. Look at how we serve ourselves. Look at how we conduct our affairs. We do not trust in God. If we did, we would follow His word, and we don't. We do not follow His word as a nation, as a collective whole. If you look at what goes on from our leadership, we are not following the will and the mandates and the word of God. Period. No room for argument. There's no leeway in that. But what about you? What about you? In whom do you trust? This morning when times get hard, who do you go to? Who do you go to? I remember when I was younger, I used to love to call my grandmother and go talk to her, go sit at my mom's house. And I'd ramble on and on and on and on. I felt better. She didn't say anything. She just listened. And eventually I would run all over the place, and I'd get mad, and then I'd get sad, then I'd get happy, and then I'd leave going, she's the wisest woman in the whole world. I got a little older and I realized she wasn't saying anything. She was just listening. And she would let me go around the rabbit trail until I finally would submit to the will of the Lord. And then I would go, oh man, I feel so much better. And I'm sure she'd laugh when I'd leave, and she'd say, one of these days that boy's going to catch on that I don't know, that I'm not saying anything. Who do you trust in? Who do you go to? I don't want to let you down this morning, but I'll be here for you, and I'll pray for you, and I'll do everything in my power to help you in any way that I can, as would anybody here in this congregation. If I needed to, I know I could call Chris in a moment's notice, and he would drop whatever he was doing and do whatever he could to assist me. I have no doubt about that. So would John. So would Harold. So would Jerry. I don't know about Robert, but I think maybe Ryan would. I don't have a doubt about that in my mind. But we cannot do for one another what only He can do. Here's our problem. We are not trusting in the God who was not made by human hands, but we are trusting in gods that were made by human hands. We want to go and find the wisdom that we need from someone else who lives and breathes and has a heartbeat just like us. We want to go and find our deliverance through a conversation with somebody. We want someone to tell us some magic words that will fix our problems or give us a pill or something that will take away whatever it is that is troubling us. But I don't want to be a bearer of bad news, but there is no one and there is no thing found in this earth that is ever going to satisfy what you need. What you need is a complete and total, unrelentless trust in God alone. In Him alone do I put my trust. He is the only one. He is the only way. He is not only all I have, but He is all I need. This morning, answer me this question. Is He your all in all? Is He your go-to? Is He where you look to find your hope? To find your faith? To find your trust? Or is there a none? Well, for many of us today, not in this congregation, but many of us in this country, we would have to honestly say, yeah, well, no, I mean, I look to the astrologist, I look to the doctor, I look to this, I look to the economist, I look to the government, I look to all these different things, and these things will fail you. Do I go to doctors? I did yesterday. And I got a really funny story that I'll tell you sometime about that. I haven't been to the doctor in 600 years. And I went. And it was common. But I think there's nothing wrong with going to a doctor. I know. That doctor might be able to take my snotty nose away. Tell me how to get rid of it. But he can't get rid, or she can't get rid of what's going on inside here. We are plagued by something much bigger than any human hand can fix. We are haunted. We are troubled. We are trampled. We are oppressed by the spirit of this world, the desire to get and to have and to satisfy, to find pleasure, to find some sort of peace or comfort within this world, some new device to give us a fix that we might get through the day. And there is nothing that will satisfy us. Nothing. There are two schools of thought in this world. One, the way of Seth. The Bible says that when Seth was born after the murder of Abel, his brother, that at that time, men began to call on the name of the Lord. What that meant is that from Seth's day on, there would be a line or a group of people, a remnant as the Bible calls it, that would trust wholly and exclusively in God to meet all of their needs. They would work. They would share. They would give. They would be wonderful people to be around. But their source of hope and their source of production, or where they would receive their fulfillment, would come from the Lord God Almighty. They would call on Him. When they would get in trouble, they would turn to the Lord, not to one another. When they would find themselves in a dilemma that they didn't know how to get out of, instead of running all over and complaining and whining and crying, they would turn to the Lord. And they would say, God, I don't know what to do, but I know you do. And I don't know how you're going to work this out, but I'm going to stand here as quiet as I can and wait for your deliverance. They trusted fully and exclusively in the Lord to meet their needs. And there would be the other school of thought that would come from Cain. Cain says, well, the Lord's abandoned me, so I'll build a city. Well, the Lord's abandoned me, so I'll make myself leader of this world. I'll become my own source of produce, which we saw in his interaction with his brother Abel. He did it. God didn't do it. He did it. Look at what I've done. Would ultimately lead to Cain declaring himself more or less God. Watch what I can do. Watch what I will do. And from that day on, many leaders have risen and become powerful on the earth. Many great governments have come. Kingdoms have come and gone. There's something striking about all of them. Anytime a kingdom would rise, there would be a groundswell of people that would gather around them and say, hey, let's ride this wave because they've really got things going on. But ultimately, the final outcome of these kingdoms would be a man who would consider himself to be above everyone else and anything else. And in a sense would make him, well, in some cases, would literally declare themselves to be a god. Or you look at our governments today. People can say and do whatever they want. They're above prosecution. Right? What you would do that would get you into pokey for 15, 20 years, they can do, and it will get them elected to a higher office. What God are they trusting in that would honor and bless and give them a promotion, though they're living in outright blatant sin? Certainly not the God that we trust in. Our Bible tells us that when we dishonor the Lord and when we go against His commandments, He doesn't bless us for it. No, He disciplines us. The true mark of a believer is their obedience to the word of the Lord, period. It's not whether they come to church or sing or give in the offering. It's whether they obey the Lord. Where do they put their trust? What God could they possibly be following? They would honor them and bless them for their sin, unless it be the God of this world. Lucifer. Satan. Are we, as a nation, somehow insulated against the God of this world becoming the centerpiece of our government and our lives? Are we somehow excluded from that? Or are we just as prone to having that happen ourselves? Now, I want to take you on a little quick tour and we'll close out here. You don't have to go there if you don't want to, but you can go with me if you like to 2 Chronicles chapter 32. Now, this is the story of Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, coming against Hezekiah, the king of Judah. Just to give you a little brief Bible history, since we are at church this morning. There were two kingdoms that would separate after the reign of David and Solomon because of Solomon's sin. Solomon became an evil pagan leader. And he began to chase after the gods of this world, the gods and goddesses of the kingdoms around them. All of which were a representation of one God, Lucifer. Yes? So the two kingdoms would split. There would be the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah. The kingdom of Israel, as soon as it split, began to go off into false pagan idol worship. The kingdom of Judah remained to a degree pretty good, pretty wholesome. There were some errors from the kings along the way, but there were several good kings that came out of Judah, Hezekiah being one of them. But I want you to watch what happened. Verse 1 says, after these things and these acts of faithfulness, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came and invaded Judah and encamped against the fortified cities. He's not just going after the farms. He's going after the fortified cities, meaning he's going to attack them at their strongest points without any fear and without any thought of retribution. Thinking to win them for himself, he was going to take from them what they had built and make it his own. I'm not trying to say anything this morning, but does it not sound familiar? And when Hezekiah saw that Sennacherib had come and intended to fight against Jerusalem, he planned with his officers and his mighty men to stop the water of the springs that were outside the city. And they helped him. And the Lord gave him this idea. And it was a brilliant idea. A great many people were gathered, and they stopped all the springs and the brook that flowed through the land, saying, why should the kings of Assyria come and find much water? He set to work resolutely, and built up all the wall that was broken down, and raised towers upon it. And outside it he built another wall, and he strengthened the Millo in the city of David. He also made weapons and shields in abundance, and he set combat commanders over the people and gathered them together to him in the square at the gate of the city, and spoke encouragingly to them, saying, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or dismayed before the king of Assyria and all the horde that is with him. For there are more with us than with him. Now listen to this closely. With him is an arm of flesh. But with us, the Lord our God, to help us and to fight our battles. And the people took confidence from the words of Hezekiah, king of Judah. Hezekiah sought the Lord, and he began to build up the fortifications of the city when he saw that they were coming for Jerusalem, the heart of the city, the principal piece of all of Israel. When he saw that they were coming for Jerusalem, he said, no, we're going to take a stand here. We're going to push back. And they got this idea, let's stop up the springs. There's no water for Sennacherib and them to be able to drink out of. That's a good idea. Let's strengthen the walls. Let's build shields in abundance. And after he had all of that done, he could have said, do not be discouraged, be courageous, do not be dismayed, for I have fortified this city and I have built weapons in abundance. No, that's not what he said. So strong and courageous because with Sennacherib is an arm of the flesh. He has the strength that man can have. He has all that there is within the flesh. But we we have more with us because the Lord, our God, He is with us. He will help us. And He will fight our battles. What happens? Sennacherib hears about this and he begins to mock them. He goes so far as to make the statement, what makes you think that your God is going to be able to oppose me, in verse 17, any different than any others? And he says, like the gods of the nations of the lands who have not delivered their people from my hands, so the God of Hezekiah will not deliver his people from my hand. What about that? He says, watch what I'm going to do. I will defeat your God. Verse 20 says, Hezekiah the king and Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos, prayed because of this, and they cried to heaven. Said, Lord, please don't let us down. And the Lord sent an angel. Wasn't Hezekiah that did it? Wasn't the people? The Lord sent an angel. The Lord sent an angel who cut off all the mighty warriors and commanders and officers in the camp of the king of Assyria, so he returned with shame of face to his own land. And when he came into the house of his God, some of his own sons struck him down there with a sword. This morning I want to encourage you. Whatever battle you may find yourself in this morning, whatever you may be going through, I want you to remember this. That it is not by your strength or the strength of some other man. It is not by wisdom and cunning. It is not by our ability to see something and do something about it. Although those things will happen and the Lord will give us ideas and He will give us wisdom and He will give us answers. Remember this, that answer that comes to you does not come because of who you are and because of your great wit and skill. It comes because of the goodness and the mercy and the omniscience and the wonderful love of the God of heaven. I wish I could tell you that things went well for Hezekiah, but I'm going to be honest with you. Not long after this takes place, Hezekiah gets a little cocky. And this new king rises up because Sennacherib gets killed by his sons. There's a little bit of turmoil in Assyria. So a new kingdom comes on the scene. You ever heard of Babylon? This new kingdom, Babylon, rises up. And they come to visit Hezekiah. Because from this point on, Hezekiah was well known among the nations. He was pretty highly respected because of this victory he had wrought over the great kingdom of Assyria. And when they come into the kingdom, Hezekiah welcomes the emissaries from Babylon and says, come on in. He takes them into the storehouses and shows them all of the gold, all of the articles of the Lord, all of the riches of Israel, or of Judah. He shows them all of the swords, all of the shields. And all they're doing is going, all right, let's take note of that right there. Okay, this right here. Now, oh, yes, boys, there's a hall here. We're going to come and attack them. Because of Hezekiah's pride. Because he got a little cocky. Thought he did it. Things didn't go so well for him. Psalm 26-8. Now I know that the Lord saves His anointed. He will answer him from His holy heaven with the saving might of His right hand. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. They collapse and fall, but we rise and stand upright. This morning you may be going through something extremely difficult that you don't know how you're going to make it through. You don't have the answer and you don't know what to do. You've tried everything in your wheelhouse and nothing's working. Well, good. Now try the only thing that will work. Trust the Lord. When you don't know how to work it out, let Him do it for you. You won't understand it. You won't maybe be able to make sense out of it, but He will answer you from His holy heaven with the saving might of His right hand. And He will work out for you what you can't work out for yourself. He will do things that you can't. He will make right what you can't make right. And Isaiah 31 says, woe to those who go down to Egypt for help. Stop going to Egypt. Stop going to the world for help. Stop trying to find answers from the media or from these gurus that tell you how to get yourself help. Get away from that. Stay away from that. Quit going to the astronomical or the astrological stuff. None of this stuff is going to answer. No genie, no witch, no prophetess, none of this is going to work. No psychic can fix your problems. Quit going to Egypt. Woe to those who go down to Egypt for help and rely on horses, who trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong. But do not look to the Holy One of Israel, or consult the Lord. The Egyptians are man and not God, and their horses are flesh and not spirit. When the Lord stretches out his hand, the helper will stumble, and he who is helped will fall, and they will all perish together. There's a whole lot of information floating around today that tells you that this world can help you, whether it be economical or spiritual or emotional or whatever, relational, whatever it may be. But I want to remind you that if you go to Egypt for help, you'll get it. But you and Egypt will fall. And you will find that man cannot do for you what only God can. So again, I encourage you this morning, trust in the Lord. Well, what should I do about this current situation? Trust in the Lord. What do I do while I'm waiting? You rejoice in the Lord because you know that He heard Hezekiah. He heard all of those before you, and He will hear you. He has heard you and answered you before, has He not? Has the Lord not responded to your cry and answered your prayer and met you where you are? Have you not seen Him do it before? Will He not do it again? Yes, but this time it's Sennacherib. So what? The next one will be the king of Babylon, and he will be greater than Sennacherib. But greater is he that is in you, he that is in the world. What I'm really trying to say is don't worry so much about what's going on in the world today. No politician's going to fix you. There's no hope in the arm of flesh. Deuteronomy 33 and 27, the eternal God is your dwelling place. And underneath are the everlasting arms. What does that mean? That means that your whole life, your whole world, everything that you are and everything that you do is encapsulated in His loving grace and mercy. That not only is He somehow holding you together by some I don't know how to say it. He's not just holding you together without His intimate touch. But He is holding you in the palm of His hand. Underneath of you, like cradling a baby, is His everlasting arms. And He is holding you and watching over you and protecting you and working out for you what you cannot. You think He is distant. You think He is foregone. You think He's not hearing you. But you don't even see that it is His loving arms that are holding you this morning and lifting you up. It is not the arm of the flesh. It is not what you can do. It is who He is and what He has done for you and what He will continue to do. And what will He continue to do? He will continue to be your Father. And not just any father, but a good father. And not just a good father, but the best of them all. And some of us have had good ones. The greatest of all, the greatest love you'll ever know is His. And the greatest protection you'll ever be in is His. Why did He let me go through this? Why did I have to experience this? It's the wrong question. The right question is, why did He hold on to me through this situation when I acted the way I did? Why did He stick around when He could have left? Why did He keep on loving me when I gave Him 1,001 opportunities to walk away and to do so lawfully and without reproach? But yet He stayed. Because that's who He is. When the men asked Jesus about adultery and divorce, and Jesus says, well, your law says that you can put a woman away if she cheats on you and does this and that, is unfaithful. What He's saying is, you will turn your back on people. You will. When you put your faith and your trust in the Lord, He'll never divorce you. He'll never walk away from you. He'll hold you in His everlasting arms. Would you stand with me this morning? Today is the day.